The late afternoon sun pressed down on the sleepy side street of Larchwood, Virginia, warming the brick sidewalks and the faded wooden bench outside Tilly's Corner Cafe. Miles Bennett adjusted the sleeves of his shirt, impatience radiating from every inch of his tailored suit. He was supposed to meet the zoning commissioner in 10 minutes about his latest development pitch. Every second mattered. But instead of reviewing the blueprints, he found himself stalled outside the cafe counter, glaring at the to-go order in front of him. This was supposed to be unsweetened, he said, sharply pushing the cup slightly across the counter. The barista, young and visibly flustered, mumbled an apology. "Sorry, sir, I can remake it right. You should have made it right the first time." Behind him, a few quiet gasps and awkward shuffles in line. Small-town folk weren't used to big city tension, and Miles didn't blend in. He was polished, pressed, and perpetually distant. Then came the interruption. A small voice, delicate yet certain. "Excuse me, mister. Would you pretend to be my daddy?" "Just for today." Miles turned sharply. Standing a few steps behind him was a girl, maybe 7. Thin arms tucked behind her, a gap-toothed smile stretching across her freckled face. Her ponytail was uneven, her t-shirt too big. Her eyes, though, were bright, brave. "Pardon me," he said, confused. The girl nodded seriously. "It's Dad Day at school. Everyone's bringing theirs. I don't have one. But you look kinda official, like you'd be good at it." Before he could answer, a woman rushed up behind her, breathless. "June." "Oh, no, baby, you can't just ask strangers things like that." "I'm so sorry," the woman added, turning to Miles. Her auburn hair was pulled back messily, her apron still dusted with flour. "She doesn't always think before she talks." "Yes, I do," June protested. "And he looks like someone who keeps promises." For a moment, Miles didn't respond. His mind went silent. He stared at the child, at her mother's flustered eyes, at the quiet stillness now hanging over the cafe patio. Then, "What time is this Dad Day?" he asked. The next morning, Miles Bennett stood awkwardly outside Hickory Glen Elementary, holding a visitor badge, and trying not to look like someone who belonged in a boardroom rather than a school hallway painted with crayon rainbows and construction paper stars. Beside him, June bounced on her toes. She wore a skirt covered in cartoon animals and a lopsided headband with glitter that had started to flake. Her smile hadn't faded since they met the day before. "You're really here?" she said, amazed. Miles nodded stiffly. "I said I would be. You even wore a sweater instead of your suit." "Good choice." She gave him a thumbs up. From a few feet away, the woman from the cafe, her mother, clearly approached, coffee in hand, eyes full of hesitation. "I'm Leah," she said, voice low. "You really didn't have to." "I know," Miles replied. A pause. Leah studied him like someone trying to read the fine print on a contract they didn't remember signing. "She's just hopeful sometimes. More than she should be." "She asked me for one day," he said simply. "And it's only a day." Leah glanced at June, who was busy pointing out the poster for Dad Day Fun Hour with sparkly letters. "Then thank you," she said. And for the first time, her voice softened. Inside, chaos ruled. Kids tugged on sleeves, shouted over each other, trailed glue sticks and glitter like confetti. Fathers in polos and paint-streaked jeans crouched beside train sets and craft tables. Miles, tall, pressed, composed, looked like an alien in the middle of it. But June didn't care. She dragged him station to station, making him help build paper crowns and string beads into lumpy bracelets. He didn't smile, not really. But he didn't leave either. Then came the reading corner. Each child sat in a circle, resting against their dad's legs, listening to the others speak. When it was June's turn, She stood with a little tremble in her voice. My pretend daddy? She began looking at Miles, showed up even though he didn't have to. And he didn't even mess up the glitter part. Laughter rippled softly through the group. She added almost shyly, he makes me feel like I'm important. Just for today, that's enough. Miles looked down at her and something old and closed off inside him shifted. Just a little. The school day ended with juice boxes, finger paints, and a classroom full of sticky laughter. Miles had never seen so many pipe cleaners in one place. As the other fathers trickled out, waving at teachers and hustling toward waiting cars, he found himself lingering by the window. June was still packing her things, talking animatedly to Leah about how Mr. Bennett tried hopscotch, and it was so bad it made Mr. Gilbert snort milk. Leah turned to him, arms crossed gently. I hope she didn't rope you into anything too ridiculous. I may never recover from glitter glue, he said dryly. She smiled, an honest one this time. Not forced. Well, you survived Dad Day. That's more than most. They walked outside together, June skipping Obama's head. On the sidewalk, she spotted a lemonade stand made of cardboard and hope. Can I get one? Please, I've got my lucky quarter. Leah nodded. Go ahead, kiddo. As June ran off, Leah tucked her hair behind her ear, the movement revealing the deep shadows under her eyes. She hasn't stopped talking about today, she said. It means more than you probably know. Miles hesitated, then said, she mentioned she didn't remember her dad. Leah looked down at her shoes. He passed when she was 3. Heart failure. Sudden. She doesn't have a single memory, just stories I try to keep alive for her. Miles nodded slowly. I didn't know. Why would you? She replied, then added, and why did you come? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced toward June, who was sipping her lemonade and grinning at her crooked straw like it was the best part of the day. I guess he said finally because she asked. And no one's asked me for something that simple in a very long time. They sat on a bench nearby. Leah pulled something from her coat pocket and handed it to him. A crumpled napkin. On it, drawn in thick crayon, were 3 stick figures under a smiling sun, a girl with yellow curls, a woman in a flowered dress, a tall man with a briefcase. That's us, Leah said softly. She drew it this morning before school, just in case. Miles held the napkin like it might break. She said she'd show you if you stayed. That evening, Miles couldn't focus. Not on the contract he was supposed to review, not on the investor call he skipped. Instead, he found himself staring at the crumpled napkin on his kitchen counter. He didn't know why he hadn't thrown it away. At 7:12 p.m., he opened his phone, typed a message to Leah, deleted it, then typed again. Is she still awake? The reply came 2 minutes later. Barely. Fever. Nothing serious. Just a bug. She asked if you were okay. His chest tightened. She asked if he was okay. 15 minutes later, he stood outside their apartment, bag of soup in one hand, a paperback book in the other. Leah opened the door, startled but not surprised. You came, she said. I brought broth, he replied. June lay curled on the couch, wrapped in a fuzzy blanket. Her cheeks were flushed, her breathing slow. When she saw him, her eyes lit faintly. You showed up again. I said just one day. He murmured. She smiled. Hoped you'd forget. He sat beside her. She wiggled closer. Leah handed him a cool washcloth and he placed it gently on June's forehead. They didn't speak for a while. Then June whispered something so soft he nearly missed it. Don't leave me too, Daddy. Miles froze. Leah looked up from across the room. Her lips parted in a silent breath. He didn't correct her. Instead, he took her small hand into his, steady and warm. "I'm here," he whispered, voice raw. "I'm not going anywhere." He stayed there the whole night, never moved, never looked at his phone. Just sat in the quiet, rocking her gently through fever dreams and midnight murmurs. And by dawn, when the fever broke and her breathing steadied, he realized something strange and terrifying. He didn't want it to be pretend anymore. The next afternoon, Leah stood behind the counter at Harper's Diner, tying her apron in quick, practiced knots. The lunch rush had just ended. Plates clinked in the kitchen, and the faint hum of a classic rock station buzzed from the corner speaker. Then her manager approached Tom, balding, sour-eyed, and holding a clipboard like it was a shield. "We need to talk," he said curtly. Leah followed him to the back room, wiping her hands on her apron. "Someone from upstairs saw you with that Bennett guy yesterday," he said. "Not bothering to sit. You were still in uniform. That doesn't look great." "I was off the clock," she replied. "He brought soup. For June." Tom didn't flinch. "Doesn't matter. That's the guy trying to buy the block, right?" "People talk. They think you're playing an angle. I didn't even know who he was when we met." "Maybe not. Still. We can't afford drama." Her heart sank. "Tom, please. I need this job. You're a good worker, Leah," he said, his voice barely apologetic. "But we're letting you go. Just until things cool down. It wasn't fair, but it was final." That evening, Leah sat on a weathered bench at the bus stop, her coat pulled tight against the wind. June leaned into her side, not understanding why her mum's hands were shaking or why she hadn't said anything for 20 minutes. "Are we in trouble?" June whispered. "No, baby." Leah choked. "Just tired." Then headlights. A sleek car pulled up too clean for the neighborhood. The back door opened before the engine even cut. Miles stepped out. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at them sitting under the flickering street lamp. Then he knelt beside June. His voice was low but sharp. "No one gets to hurt your mum while I'm around. You understand me?" Leah blinked, stunned. Her throat tightened. "She lost her job," Miles said, standing to face Leah. "I know," she whispered. "It's not your fault." "Yes, it is," he said, "and I'm going to make it right." 2 days later, Leah stepped into the lobby of the Bennett Foundation's downtown office, a modern space of quiet elegance and warm light, nothing like the diners and cafes she was used to. She clutched her worn leather bag tightly, unsure of why she was there. The receptionist smiled. "You're expected." Elevator to the 10th floor. When the doors opened upstairs, Leah was greeted by the sound of running footsteps. Mommy June's voice rang out like music. She dashed into her mother's arms, then turned quickly to the man just behind her. "I told her you'd be here." Miles followed with a small smile, dressed casually, more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. He looked at Leah. "You're here." "I didn't say yes," she replied cautiously. "You didn't say no either." He gestured to a large, sunlit office overlooking the city skyline. Inside were shelves of children's books, framed photographs of community projects, and a wall of handmade art. "This is the Bennett Foundation," he explained. "Quiet work. Big heart. I need someone who knows how to care about people, who doesn't stop when it gets hard." "I'm not looking for charity," Leah said quickly. "This isn't charity. It's a job. A real one. Personal assistant, flexible hours, health benefits, and a break room with decent coffee." She stared at him, trying to read behind his calm expression. "Why, me?" "Because you've been holding everything together alone for too long. And because I think maybe I was waiting for someone like you to remind me what really matters. Leah didn't answer right away, but when she looked at June already spinning in the office chair like she belonged there, something in her heart cracked open just enough, and she whispered, "Okay." That afternoon, they celebrated with grilled cheese and tomato soup in the office kitchen. Later, as Miles walked them out, June tugged at his sleeve. "Can I call you Daddy again?" "Just once." He knelt beside her. "You can call me whatever you want." She grinned. "Then you're my forever dad." It happened on a quiet Sunday morning. Leah was tying June's shoes in the hallway when a knock sounded at the door, firm, unfamiliar. She opened it to find a man in a sharp blazer and too perfect smile. Behind him stood a woman holding a briefcase. "Leah Walters?" he asked. "Yes, I'm Martin Hale. I represent Daniel Archer. He's June's biological uncle." Leah's heart skipped. "He's filing for guardianship," Hale said simply. "He believes the child should be raised by blood." Before she could respond, a deep voice spoke from behind her. "She already is." Miles stepped into view. Shoulders squared, Hale barely blinked. "You're not family, Mr. Bennett." "I'm everything she needs," he replied. Leah stood frozen, the warmth of her apartment suddenly cold. Daniel's never visited, never sent a letter. He's never even met her. That's exactly why he wants to change that, Hale said. 3 weeks later, the courtroom was packed. Leah sat on one side, pale but composed. Miles was beside her, his hand wrapped around hers. June sat between them in a little navy dress, too small for the witness bench, but too brave for her age. Daniel Archer, polished and smug, sat on the other side of the room. "That man," he said, gesturing to Miles, "isn't family. He's a billionaire playing house. I want stability for my niece." The judge listened, brows furrowed, then said, "Does love matter in this courtroom?" "Mr. Archer." Daniel stammered. "Of course it does, but—" But he was already losing. Then a small voice spoke. June stood from her seat, her voice trembling but clear. "My name is June Walters," she said, "and I already have a daddy." The entire courtroom went silent. "He reads to me every night. He listens when I'm scared. He holds my hand. He shows up. I don't want a new one, I already picked mine." Tears welled in Leah's eyes. Miles looked stunned. The judge leaned back, exhaled, and gave his ruling petition denied. Guardianship remains with Ms. Walters, and Mr. Bennett is welcome to remain in the child's life. Cheers didn't erupt. Applause didn't echo. But in June's smile and Leah's tearful nod, everything loudest had already been said. That day, something unspoken became permanent. A week after the courtroom victory, life returned to its soft rhythm. The city, still clinging to late autumn, was brushed with early snow. The sidewalks sparkled under streetlights, and inside Miles's apartment, warmth had taken on a new definition. June sat cross-legged on the rug, building a spaceship out of Legos. Leah sat on the couch, a book half open in her lap. Miles stood in the kitchen, stirring hot cocoa sleeves rolled up and glasses slightly crooked. "Do they have marshmallows?" June called out. "They do now," he answered with a grin. He handed each of them a mug, then sat down beside Leah. For a long moment, they said nothing. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Leah's eyes widened, but he turned to June first. "Open it." Inside was a silver necklace, small and simple. The charm read, "Family." June gasped. "It's for me." "You made me believe in this," Miles said. "And I want you to know, no matter where life takes us, you'll always have me." She threw her arms around him. "You're my forever dad." Then he turned to Leah, his voice softened. You walked into my life like a storm and turned it into a home. I'm not pretending anymore. I don't want temporary. I don't want convenient. I want real. He opened the second box. A ring. Classic. Timeless. Leah covered her mouth, trembling. Miles, I love you, he said. Will you be our family for real? Her answer came with a nod and a kiss full of the life they thought they'd never have. That winter they married in a small chapel under a sky full of snow. June walked down the aisle, first scattering petals like glitter, her dress catching every soft light in the room. Miles waited, nerves steady, heart loud. Leah appeared in ivory and grace. Their vows weren't poetic, just true. I didn't believe in second chances, he said, until I met two girls who made me want to be someone worth loving. Leah whispered, You showed me love isn't about sacrifice, it's about choosing home. As the ceremony ended, Miles scooped up June and said, You picked me first, remember? She giggled. Best choice I ever made. That night, barefoot in their living room, they danced to no music, just joy. Three people who were once strangers, now something much more. A family. Forever.